I'm going to, yeah.
How do I know? Oh, there we go. There we go.
National Arena League is bringing explosive arena football to a global stage. 2 continents, 1 league. April 2026. From Las Vegas to Glasgow, from Cincinnati to Stuttgart, this is arena football reimagined. And with our Fans Win 2 program, when your team wins the championship, your season tickets are on us. This is the IAL, where fans don't just watch history, they win with it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Live with the IAL. I'm Corrine Lewis, Director of Fan Experience, and with me today is my co-host and Commissioner Dan Lust. Dan is a leading sports and entertainment attorney in New York. He also hosts his own podcast called Conduct Detrimental, the Law podcast show, and he is an instructor for law school as well in New York, amongst a host of many other things. How are you, Dan?
I'm good. I like the font today. It looks very spooky.
Right? It looks nice. So listen, we have an exciting show today. We got a lot going on, but I'm super excited to have this interview with our special guest here in a little bit, and especially to hear what the two of you are going to talk about. So I think it's going to be very fun and educational, informative about arena football. So I'm excited. So listen, we're going to make announcements. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions from our IAL fans and then introduce our guest. So the first announcement I'm going to make, you guys, is Fans Win 2. And this is the most amazing program that we have going on in the IL as far as fan engagement, as far as I'm concerned. So our COO, Tom Mitchell, has decided that if you are a season ticket holder in the IAL and your team wins the championship, he is going to renew your season tickets free for 2027. And I know for a fact that isn't done anywhere else. I've never heard of it. How about you, Dan? Have you heard of that before?
I have not. Listen, I knew this announcement before you said it.
Right.
I'm aware that this was a thing, but I have not heard of it in another league because I'm a lawyer. Right? I have to be very, very specific on what we're saying here. But yes,
right.
Of course.
So Fans Win 2 is a promo that we're doing. And when I spoke to Tom Mitchell, he said, hey, I see this being an indefinite thing. So very, very cool. So go out, get your tickets, and you can go to ialfootball.com, pick your team, pick your seats, and let's get ready to go. The second announcement I'm going to make is also an announcement I made last week, which is December 3rd. We get to announce our Salt Lake City team. We get to announce the name. So I'm sure our commissioner knows the name. I don't know the name, but we get to announce all things Salt Lake City. So I'm excited about that as well. And the first week after the Super Bowl, we will be holding our dance team tryouts. So be looking for that information as the weeks unfold. We'll let you know all about the dance team tryouts, but it has been told to me that it will be held the first week after Super Bowl. So that's exciting. I love that. And I was told today that I am heading to Europe. I'm going to Europe the first week in December in a couple weeks. So I get to go and look at some arenas and office spaces. I get to do a meet and greet, talk to some of the people in Stuttgart and Dusseldorf, Zurich, Glasgow, and Nottingham. So I will be announcing more probably over the next couple of lives, but I want to meet you in person. If we get a chance to connect, that would be great. So I was told that today, and I'm excited. I'm excited to go back to Europe, one of my favorite places to be. So with that being said, Dan, are you ready to answer some questions?
I'm ready to answer questions. The first question can be, why wasn't I invited to go to Europe?
Let's go. Come on.
It's a great. I mean, listen. I know the answer to the question. I wasn't invited to Europe. I have to man the home front. I have to handle the domestic affairs.
Right?
Yeah, I was. Listen, I'd say 90% of news, Corinne. I hear before you hear. That one I did not know. So congrats to you. You beat me to the punch.
I just found out earlier today. I was very excited. Okay, so Gabriel Dan wants to know, will international fans get a live stream option to watch the games?
It's a good question. I don't think we have finalized yet, nor do I think I'm quite in a position to say what our plans for live streaming are, but certainly I think the best fan package would allow fans to be able to watch the game, be it on a free platform such as YouTube or something like that. If we can arrange for that, that's certainly very seemingly doable. The hope is obviously at some point we can get together a nice streaming package, down the line. But yeah, the goal is, for fans of other teams to be able to see the other games. We're not quite ready to publicize what the plans are for that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that would be an ideal setup, of course.
Okay. And Lisa wants to know, when will we get teams in California?
It's a good question. So, we had our first live, which that was the one when you had the volume issue. Maybe that's in the archives. Maybe Elijah deleted it, but I think this is an important one, and I see some people in the chat. I see shout outs from Missouri. The goal, be it California or really any market, the goal is to really have a gradual, normal build in terms of expansion, right? We can have a certain amount of teams, and I was just talking with Tom, and I don't want to, this part I'm intentionally not saying, but we're still in the process of finalizing our markets. We don't want to lose our position with respect to leverage in terms of any of these arena deals that we're trying to figure out. But the goal is to slowly and surely expand into markets in a way that's profitable, that it makes sense, that it doesn't dilute the product. So you can say California, which obviously a major media market, but as Tom Mitchell, our COO, got me on the page once upon a time. It's not always just the main media markets. Like, for example, New York, and for reasons that I'm not going to say on the stream, New York is not the best market for arena football, and lifers of arena football will know that. Sometimes it takes a diehard market that has a robust college market and maybe doesn't have a pro market. So yeah, we're not just looking at major media markets. We want to go to markets that make sense, that have an appetite for professional football, and obviously arena space for us. That would be ideal.
That's ideal for sure. Okay. And the final question is, Tyler would like to know, in this league, will the players go both ways?
That question was phrased in a very odd manner, but yeah. Will there be two-way players? Yes. I mean, Tom and I, we're working behind the scenes in the rule book. We're trying to, basically keep the core of arena football, change some things around the edges, but certainly arena football has these really tight rosters. It's not 55-man rosters where you have specialty players. They have the luxury of a third-string quarterback. Most players will play on the offensive line, the defensive line. It's certainly the goal.
Very cool. Okay, well, listen, this is my favorite part of our lives, right? The announcements are great, but this is where we get to bring on our special guests. And I'll tell you what, this guest today, Dan, is very, very special. All right. So, hey, our guest today is a former UNLV standout, AFL Hall of Fame wide receiver, Randy Gatewood. Yay, Randy.
Hello, Randy.
Hey.
It's a little dark in here. Where am I at? Let's get some light in this place. That's a little better. How's everyone doing?
Randy, where are you? Are you at an Applebee's, a Buffalo Wild Wings? What is this establishment?
No, I'm actually sitting at I'm in the food truck industry now. So one of the locations that I work at and I usually locate at, I'm sitting in there today because we have an event coming up. There's some things going on with the truck today. So we're hanging out in here today. But I do need to turn on some light because it's a little bit dark in here right now,
You're all
Not
right.
dark on our side. I can hear you.
No,
We can
you're
see you
good.
fine. There's a little bit of an echo, but we'll deal with it. But first of all, welcome to the show. And I'm not going to take any offense that Corinne said it's her favorite part to bring on the guest. She does not like having me one-on-one. That's
Well,
what I've been told.
especially Randy. I mean, I had the privilege of actually meeting and interviewing Randy about 20 years ago.
Oh man, that was so long
At
ago.
least
Don't date
20
us.
years ago.
Hey, don't date us both, Corinne.
At
Though
least-
you're telling people our age.
I know.
But that was a long.
It's not my
long
age,
time
just
ago.
yours.
Yeah.
Well, listen. So, I mean, I want to give the IAL fans an opportunity to get to know you better and find out more about what moves you and what makes you tick, right? So, but I do want to start off saying that I am the director of fan experience, and so what's super important to me is our fans. Everything about our football league is centered on our fans. And with everything that you've done, everything that you've accomplished in your career, I want to know first and foremost, please tell our fans what they mean as an athlete to you.
So I was fortunate enough to play football for a very long time, and that allowed us to. I think we may have lost the connection here. Let me see if I can get back on.
That's better, actually.
Yeah, I can hear you much better.
Is that a little bit
That's
better?
better, Randy. That's
Much
better.
better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just as we said, it was okay. We lost it.
This was great.
There we go. I was fortunate enough to play football for a very long time and was able to, meet and talk and chat with a lot of fans. And, that's really, the fans are really what makes any of these leagues go. From the AFL to the IFL to the NFL to NBA, like the fans really are the ones who make a difference. And we were fortunate enough in the Arena Football League. My time there that was one cool thing about the league is the fans had direct access to us. We could sign autographs and they could reach out and shake hands and, we'd stay around to sign autographs and really, really interact with the fans. And so, that was really, really what set that league apart at that time, because like I said, a lot of other leagues in professional sports, a lot of time the fans doesn't have that type of direct access to the players. And so that's what made the league really different. It made the league really cool. And I think that's why so many people engaged in the Arena Football League at that time back when we were playing.
Right. Well, here's kind of a fun story. I was speaking to our COO, Tom Mitchell, and at the time, he worked with you in Arizona. And apparently there was these season ticket holders who had been there for several years, and they were getting a little frustrated because they wanted to move closer and closer. And Tom basically said, listen, what can I do? We can't move you further at this point in the season. What can I do to make you happy? And the wife of the couple said, you can get me a signed jersey from Randy Gatewood. And from what Tom told me, that's exactly what you did. And they were happy. So, so obviously the fans do mean something to you, right? You gave up
Absolutely.
your jersey.
And of all the guys, I was really fortunate enough. We had a bunch of really good players and some other guys who are in the Hall of Fame and, who really set the tone for the Arena League as far as the Arizona Rattlers before I got there. And so, that's huge for me, that they actually asked for an autographed jersey of mine, in reference to everyone that was there. But no, I had a really
ask for anything. They wanted your jersey. That says a lot, right?
Wow. No, that's awesome. I had a really good run with the Arena Football League, and I was thrilled and glad to hear that, they're bringing it back on a level that I can absolutely like refer to, because the question that the gentleman asked earlier, and I wanted to comment on that at some point, is will the players go both ways? And I was one of those guys who went both ways. That's what the league was sort of built on. That's what real like indoor Arena Football League, when you think about it, we were the Iron Man guys, the guys who had, who played predominantly one way in college. But when you got to this league, you had to be versatile enough to play two ways. And so that's what really, really made the league unique. So I'm hoping that some of that's implemented in this new league and that they bring back at least, some of those players where they require a few of those guys have to stay on the field.
Right. Well, in a few minutes, you're going to have a one-on-one conversation with Dan, and I think he'll probably be able to answer and talk with you about a lot of that stuff. So listen, I want you to take us on your journey from your career from UNLV to going pro. You were undrafted free agent with the Dolphins, and then you ended up having one of the best arena football careers of all time. So just take us through your journey, what it was like being at UNLV, having that experience, and then going into this whole other, world, basically a pro ball.
It's crazy because when I left, I came into UNLV as a junior college transfer out of Tyler Junior College in Texas. And that league was that junior college division was really, really competitive. And when I got to UNLV, when I first committed to them, I was under the impression that I was going to be one of the guys who was coming in early, someone who was going to, they were expecting these big things out of. And when I got there, it's crazy because the talent level, there was some guys on the team who were already there that were really talented. And I really didn't have a place to play, for the first probably one or two games, of that season, of my junior season. And I had a coach who was the special teams coach for UNLV who was really, really lobbying to get me on the field. Like, he liked everything about me. He liked my routes. He liked my hands. He liked everything. And because some of these guys had been at UNLV for a couple of years, those guys sort of had the jump on me. And I never forget Coach Buff. Haskell Buff was his name. And they finally found a way to implement me in the system. I think it was week 2 of that system, but they brought me in as like a tight end, someone who would line up in the tight end spot. I could flex out from the tight end spot, and then it would create a matchup nightmare against a linebacker or someone else. And so that's kind of how I got my start at UNLV my junior year. And I ended up having a pretty decent year, but going into spring ball my junior year, we got a whole new coaching staff. We went 3-8 that year, whole new coaching staff. Every single coach, with the exception, I believe, of one coach, was fired, and they brought that one coach back, but a whole new coaching staff. And so now the slate's clean for everybody,
right?
And going into that season, the guys who were ahead of me from the previous year's spring ball, I kind of leapfrogged them in the eyes of these other coaches, and I became the number one guy going into my senior year. And then on top of that, we threw the ball 40 or 50 times a game, So my senior year at UNLV, I had a really, really huge year. I led the nation in receiving, in receptions and yards for probably 9 out of our 11 games. I think I led. In the last couple of games, a couple of guys caught me. But with all that being said, it still didn't land me an invite to the combine. I was putting up all these numbers and everything like that. I still didn't get invited to the combine. And so at the end of the season, I did get invited to the East-West Shrine Classic, where I ended up having a big game in that game. I ended up catching 2 touchdowns in that game, had a really good game, and still didn't get invited to the combine. So it was one of those things where I ended up signing with the Miami Dolphins as a free agent. Right. And it amazes me because one of the other receivers on my team that year, I probably doubled his production, and he got invited to the combine.
Wow.
And so it was one of those things where, I looked at it as, okay, well, I'm still going to get an opportunity. And so when I signed with the Dolphins, I really felt like coming through training camp, like I did everything that I was supposed to do. I was one of a handful of the last few guys to get cut from the team that year. And I thought I I literally thought I had made that team until I walked into practice that next morning. And I never forget, Dan, Corinne, I was having lunch with a guy after I had got released, a guy named Terrell Buckley. And if I don't know if you guys remember Terrell Buckley, but Terrell was a first round draft pick
Wait,
out of
I do
Florida.
remember Terrell Buckley. He was a
Yep.
DB, correct? Played for the
Yep.
Dolphins.
Defensive back with the Dolphins, but he came up through Green Bay, first round draft pick, Florida State, played with Deion Sanders, just had a really an amazing resume. And I remember having lunch with Terrell, and Terrell couldn't believe that I had been released. And, we're having this conversation about going on and trying to get back to the league and everything, but just a really genuine guy who didn't sugarcoat anything either. But I remember leaving the Dolphins, going back to UNLV, taking, part of that year off. And I didn't even want to play arena football. I was trying to get back to the NFL. But I had a really close friend of mine, a guy named Hunky Cooper, who also is huge in the Arena Football League. But he talked me into coming out for a tryout. And I ended up trying out for the Rattlers. And about 30 minutes into this tryout, Danny White, walks up to me and he asked me, "Hey, what would you think about playing arena football for the Rattlers?" And at that time, I still told Danny, "Well, I got this thing. I'm going to the World League. I'm trying to get back to the NFL, and so he understood it, but he says, "Okay, well, if you're going to play arena football, let us sign you to a contract. If it doesn't work out anywhere else, then you can come back." And that's exactly what happened, because I ended up getting cut again from, it's crazy. Now you guys have an international league, but at the time they had a World Football League. I was headed to Scotland.
Wow.
I was supposed to go play for the Scottish Claymores. And the day before we are scheduled to leave to go to Europe, the Los Angeles Rams allocates a guy to our team.
Oh,
and
my
I
God.
I wasn't allocated by a team. I was referred by my head coach, knew the head coach of the Claymores. And so when they allocated that guy, that left me out. So I got cut. And just so happened when I got cut from the World League, the Arena Football League was starting a week later.
Wow.
So I was already in shape. I was already training. I was already ready to go. And I came to Arizona a few days later and ended up playing arena football for 12 years. And after my first year with the Rattlers, I sort of didn't even try and get back to the NFL. I was happy. I was content. I met my ex-wife my ex-wife now, but at the time started a family and all that type of stuff. So for me, it allowed me to wake up to my kids and be here at home and everything like that. So I never even attempted to get back to the NFL, but there was no doubt in my mind that I had the ability to play on Sundays, especially playing against a lot of guys I knew in the competition and receivers who were all coming out and getting drafted that year. And we're talking, the Joey Galloways, the Michael Westbrooks, the Antonio Freeman, all of them were in my class when we all came out. We all played together in that East-West Shrine Classic, but I never really pursued the NFL after that. And I went on to have a really, really incredible career in the Arena Football League. And then that's kind of where, my journey began, here in Arizona, was through the Rattlers and the Arena Football League.
And on that note, this is the last question I'm going to ask you. I'm going to pass the torch over to Dan. But you, in fact, are an arena football legend. There's no disputing that, period. You are a 3-time first and second all-team arena player, 3-time all-Ironman team, 2-time AFL Ironman of the Year, AFL's 20 greatest players, and AFL Hall of Fame inductee. I mean,
when you say it like that,
doesn't that say legend? You got your jersey retired. And so with that being said, before I pass the torch over to Dan, with all that, with all those accolades, everything I just said, what is your most memorable moment in your arena football career?
Ooh, oh man. I would probably have to say 1997 It was my second year in the league, and we were in the semifinals. We were playing Tampa, and Tampa had this reputation for, they had won several Arena Bowls with Tim Markham, and we were fortunate enough that we were in the semifinals in the playoffs here in Arizona. And Cedric Bonner had just went down about a quarter before that with a broken leg too. So no one really gave us a chance in that game. And we ended up extending that game to overtime. They got the ball first. We stopped them. They only got a field goal. And then we got the ball to go down and try to win the game. And I don't remember if it was second down. It may have been second or third down. But I ended up catching sort of a delayed slant route, and the defensive back sort of he fell down, and I kind of knew how he was going to react because I had messed around with a play earlier in the game where I knew I wasn't getting the ball. I said, I'm just going to do this to see how he reacts, And sure enough, I knew how he was going to react at that moment. And so I ran a specific route a certain way, didn't even tell the quarterback I was doing it. But the quarterback was able to get the ball at least somewhere close to me, and I caught it, and he fell down, and I walked in the end zone. And pretty much when we scored the touchdown, they had a field goal, the game was over. And I remember coasting into that end zone thinking like, wow, we're headed to the championship game, and everybody rushes me. The team rushes me, everybody. And I'm at the bottom of this pile. And like you said, through everything that I accomplished, I think that was probably one of my most proudest moments because we had so many guys on that team who were legends too. And me only being a second-year player, Danny White had a lot of faith in me and a lot of just things, to throw the ball to a second-year player, on a third down when we're trying to win this game and those type of things. And we went on to win the Arena Bowl championship that year, and so that was probably, if I had to pick one, and there were a lot, there's a lot of memories, a lot of success, but I think for me, that one holds a certain value just because it catapulted us into our first Arena Football championship. And it sort of not necessarily put me on the map, but I think it sort of gave me that boost of energy now that, okay, we have Hunky, we have Cedric, now we have Gatewood as well. So we have to include him in this party, as well. And so that was probably one of the most proudest moments that I can think of at this particular moment.
Oh, I love that. So listen, I'm excited, and I know that the rest of the viewers are excited to hear from our commissioner, Dan Lest, and let the two of you just chop it up. Let's go.
Absolutely. Let's do this.
Well, Randy, pleasure to have you. Certainly your reputation is tremendous. One of the top Arena Football League players in history. I have a couple questions for you. I won't try to keep you too long, but I think fans,
you're fine.
I mean, listen, while we have you, we have one of the greatest players in Arena Football League history. We got to ask you the tough questions. So a couple things. And the first one that you point out, I mean, you're too humble, right? You're a two-time Ironman of the Year for the AFL, right? Two-way player, wide receiver, D-back. Someone asked it in the audience. But I think the two-way nature of football is like, it takes you back to being like playing on the playground, right? When you'd have guys playing both ways, you have, just a little bit more of that Sandlot feel. Can you just, for those that are coming in that are maybe new to this sense of like, because, a lot of people watch college football. A lot of people watch NFL football. We're still growing the game of arena football. Can you speak about the role that this two-way action plays, maybe, not taking plays off? Like people view Travis Hunter as being this like, this enigma. I mean, it's basically every player on the field is doing that.
And it is. It's I was fortunate enough I made the transition to defensive back right away, and I did have a little bit of experience in high school. I grew up in a little town in Wichita Falls, Texas, but I played offense and defense in high school. But when I got to the Arena League, the game, of course, was much faster, but also you would go down on kickoff, play defense, go on kick return, play offense, field goal, do it all over again 3 or 4 times, and then you look up and there's still 11 minutes left in the first quarter. And that's the one thing that I think the most was after I really got acclimated to the game of arena football. There will be times where I may not have even came out of the game the whole game, and I remember playing against some of my teammates, guys who started out with the Rattlers but went to another team, and then we would have to face off against those guys. And I remember coming out for warm-ups and, joking with, some ex-teammates, and a few of them would always ask me, like, man, do you ever come off the field? Like, do you ever leave the field? And Danny really gave me the option a lot of times to where if I wanted to stay in and if I could handle it, he would just kind of leave me in the game the whole time. And you'd look up, and then at the end of the game, maybe you'd have, 120 plays where you play offense, defense, special teams, and then you do it all again the next week and then the next week. And it's really a unique individual, someone who can be just as effective offensively and then be just as effective defensively too. Those players are sort of,
it's funny. Like I think, I imagine you're a fan of other sports as well. People will like nitpick on Major League Baseball, for example, that we have these specialty relievers that they'll pitch to like lefties and then they'll come out. I mean, we're not seeing the full picture of a player's athletic skill. If they just come in and play wide receiver, we don't see that, right?
No, you don't.
But you can get exposed on the field or vice versa. If you have a well-rounded game, I mean, that there's something to that. So yeah, I think
very much.
We're looking for athletes, and I think that goes to this other point that you said, with Corinne, that I thought was really interesting. And I, again, I'm not sure how many people come to the first couple of these, but I represent agents in my legal practice. I'm a full-time lawyer, and really excited to be part of the the IAL. But in my practice, I represent some agents that are dying for a guy that's going to get drafted, right? They're going to be a 7th round guy, a 6th round guy. Right? Once upon a time, Tom Brady was, a 6th round draft pick. So, it's such an honor to be invited to the combine, and players of your caliber that don't even get invited to the combine for many, many years, right? There was no other league to go to. So I'd love for you to speak to about just the advent of a new league to create another landing place for players across the country, and the value of just another platform in this day and age with NIL and social media to be able to continue your playing career in very meaningful ways off the field.
Yeah, and I think I've always said this, Dan, throughout my whole career, that some guys are just football players. Okay, they may not be the biggest, they may not be the strongest, the fastest. Everything that they do at the combine. Don't get me wrong; it gives you a chance to look at someone, to see them run. They shape up everything. Everything looks great, but some people are just football players, and I feel like Jimmy Johnson, those type of coaches really understood that. A lot of guys draft off of measurables and how fast he ran and how high he jumped, and then maybe you get him in the locker room or in the meeting rooms, and he can't learn the offense and he can't pick up the playbook. He's not as quick, as a thinker as some of the other guys. And so I just remember guys like the Dallas Cowboys, that team, outside of the offensive line, when Jimmy Johnson was there, a lot of those guys were just coming from schools that nobody would have never drafted them from, And so I really attributed that to, guys really understanding that guy, maybe he didn't run 4.3, but guess what? I've never seen him get caught from behind. He's always behind the defensive back. He runs excellent routes, and I really feel like that's where a guy like me sort of got caught up in it too, because I wasn't a 4.3 guy, but I never got caught from behind, and I'm always running by DBs and all those type of things. And so, but I think, for them to have something like this, I think it's a great platform so guys can have an opportunity to still continue to play with the hope of getting back to the NFL. Look at Kurt Warner, who of course came from the Arena Football League and went on to the NFL to tear it up. Kurt had one of the most remarkable runs of any quarterback, not only just in the NFL, but a guy who came from the Arena Football League. And what he was able to do, in the NFL, it was unprecedented. he made it look so easy out there.
Right.
You know,
What I was going to say, right? You can have a player like Kurt Warner that has obviously a Hall of Fame career, but maybe didn't have the combine measurables, right? Maybe he's not running
Yep.
a 4.4 or whatnot.
Yep.
You know, I was watching because I'm a very big nerd for all things sports. I was watching the Lane Kiffin documentary today, and he was the Raiders coach when they picked Jamarcus Russell, and they picked him over Calvin Johnson. Jamarcus Russell had every deliverable in the book, right? But if you just look at his college numbers, you know, they're fine. Right. And, you know, you mentioned Jimmy Johnson and you know, the Bill Parcells rules for drafting a quarterback, right? You had to start 23 games or whatnot, right? You have to have a positive touchdown to interception ratio. I think it was like 2-1, 3-1. But sometimes those things are lost. You could be a highly productive college player and you don't have the measurables, right? You don't have the right box jump and you don't get drafted. And I don't think that's necessarily fair. But that's why it's great to have additional landing spots. So let me ask you this, Randy, you know, kind of different from on the field, right? We can talk about, you know, roster size and scoring and pace. I think Arena Football League fans understand that. You are a lifer for Arena Football, right? One of the most decorated players in league history. Are there any things kind of like, we'll say behind the scenes in terms of facilities, travel, in terms of like league growth, things that we should be looking out for as a brand new league, that maybe the Arena Football League, maybe some pitfalls that they had that you've seen in your 10 years with the league that we should be looking out for on day one?
Yeah, I think big time the travel. I think all of that stuff plays a lot into, you know, how the organization run plays a lot into it. And we were fortunate enough that we were owned by the Suns at the time, and the Suns were owned by Jerry Colangelo at that particular. For 10 of my 12 years, the Colangelo family owned the Rattlers. And so Jerry and Brian, they only believed in doing things first class. And from a professionalism standpoint, that's where we all learned it, because it just came down from how Jerry and how Brian operated. We all had to be professional. Everything was sort of first class with them, from travel to hotels to where we lived to where we stayed. The only pitfall I feel like in the Arena League when I first got into the league was salary. You know, salary was really, really low at that time, you know, and we were playing for the love of the game with the hope that one day, you know, the league would get, you know, revenue from TV or from something that one day in years, or maybe even not our run, but the next generation could really make really good money if they decided to come to the Arena League. And so a big part of it was, you know, our pay at the beginning. But I think that as long as you have this idea of letting these guys know that we care about you also outside of just football. You know, how can we empower these guys, not as just football players, but as young men and everybody on that stage? I mean, on and off the stage of football, how you conduct yourself off the field, how you treat people off the field, how you treat people in the locker room. You sort of try to build that culture around those players. And I really feel like the Arena League at that time we played, they did a really good job of doing that, because you had a lot of other owners, you know, who from a monetary standpoint, they didn't lean on the Arena League to make money. It was something that they did on the side, and they just loved the game, and it was part of the business deals. But I think more importantly than anything else, teach those players and allow them to understand that life is absolutely bigger than just football. And how can I help you not only be a great football player, but also be a great person? And I think a lot of those guys in any league, in every league, I feel like that's where some of it's lacking. Is they give you a playbook, okay, on everything you need to know about football, basketball, whatever it is, but no one's giving them a playbook on life, you know. And I really feel like that's, to me, that was one of the biggest pitfalls that I've seen, not just across my time there, even in college football, was I needed someone to give me a blueprint or a book on life, on how to handle stress, or, you know, something that's going on or whatever it may be. But I feel like I said, no one gave me a playbook on life. And I really feel like that's an area where if they can help those guys improve as not only as people, then I think they'll be awesome, you know, football players as well. But teach them a little bit more outside of just the game of football.
So we had a good question from, and first of all, I love that answer. We had a good question that kind of ties into this. So James asked, are celebrations going to be encouraged or discouraged? I would strongly say encouraged. Thank you for flashing that up on the screen. And I think to that last point, in addition to my law practice where I'm representing agents and coaches, I do a lot of work in the influencer space. And I'm not breaking the fourth wall here, but you stopped playing in 2007 at a time where I think Facebook was like just being created, right? And obviously now we're 20 years past that. We're in a very different era that if you can pull together 5-digit followers, 6-digit followers, you could just be making money as your career, right? That could be your job, posting on social media, getting sponsored posts. So to James's question about celebrations being encouraged, we are in the business of viral moments. We are in the business of trying to capture this magic of, be it the Harlem Globetrotters or the Savannah Bananas. We want to make the league fun without being a gimmicked league, but we want to create these viral moments to direct people to social media, right? Now, if your playing career was happening, in the social media era, what things could we inject into our league from, be it a technological standpoint or maybe just a fun standpoint, for rules changes that would create these viral moments? Is there anything that you kind of saw in your 10 years, maybe this, those tinfoil hat ideas that, maybe didn't make it into gameplay, but you think would be fun and potentially doable in a new league like this?
Yeah, I think that celebrations should definitely be encouraged. I think that's one thing that the NFL, in my opinion, I don't think they do a good job of really allowing the players to play with energy, to play with a little emotion. Any little thing that supposedly, is not to their liking, they're going to get flagged. It's going to be unsportsmanlike. It's going to be all these things when that's what the league is about. It's about fun moments. You gotta, now granted, it has to be, monitored and they can't just do whatever they want to do. But I feel like they don't give them an opportunity to really do a whole lot at all when it comes to celebrations anymore. And I really feel like in the Arena League,
I think, Randy, we lost your audio, unless it's just me. I don't know if Randy can hear me.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. We can't hear you, Mr. Gatewood.
I don't think.
Corinne, we'll get Randy back in. Bring us back into the questions. Maybe I can help, and Randy, I think we'll figure it out as we go.
Okay. Well, what we're getting ready to do is we're getting ready to have Randy. I think he's noticed now. I think he knows.
We can't hear you.
Hey, Randy. Can't hear you.
There he goes.
Okay. So can you read? Well, there was a question and it went by too quick. There it is. Can you read that question, Dan?
Sure. The Naughton Pub is a American football fan pub. That will be nice. Meeting point 2. You want to hear something cool?
Yes.
Corinne? I have a 6-year-old daughter. So listen, we take for granted that we read things really quickly now. Now I have to go through every word. We got to break them up into complex words, simple words. We got magic E's. We got double O's. The English language is very complicated. And I'm looking forward to our international fans learning the English language through football. You laugh. I've heard stories about fans learning, be it the wrestling market, be it football, people learning things like touchdown, which are not said in American parlance. Like when something good happens, no one yells touchdown. But I want our international fans to do that. That's what I want to let them take away with. Randy, we lost your audio for a bit, but you sound good again.
Technical difficulties. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I got an iPhone, I got an iPad, I got a MacBook in front of me. Like, what is going on?
Oh, that's okay. Well, listen, you know what? If it's okay with you, I would like to bring our fans in now because you have a very important question for our fans. So listen, everyone out there, for the IAL viewers, again, thanks to our Commissioner Dan Less, our COO Tom Mitchell, what we're doing is on this segment of our lives, our guest gets to ask a question. And if you answer the question correctly, you get 2 free season tickets to any IAL team you want. So if you're a Las Vegas Rocker, a Cincinnati Slinger, Glasgow Tartan, if you win, if you answer Randy's question right, you're going to get 2 free season tickets. So we're pulling for you. And with that being said, Randy, what's your question?
Let's see here. I would probably say, and no, no Googling and none of that. Like, you got to come right off the top with this now,
Right.
Yeah. So what was the name of my clothing store here in Arizona right after I was done playing football?
I don't get to win because I already know. Okay,
Yeah,
so
Corinne, you and Dan, you guys are unfortunately we can't let you a part of this, but yeah, what's the name of my clothing store that I opened shortly after I retired from football?
all right, here we go. Does anyone know the answer? If you do, you get 2 free season tickets to the IAL team of your choice.
Oh man, I'd be on Google right now.
Well, the rules
Okay.
of engagement were no Google.
Oh, yep, that's
I was just going to say, if
You know?
hypothetically someone didn't know the answer and Googled it, it would come up very quickly. That's all I'm going to say. But you're not allowed to Google. Okay? You are not.
That's the life we live in now, Tom. We got Google, we got Facebook, we got all this. Had we had Facebook and all this stuff back in the day, I was joking around. I went to a UNLV reunion last year, and I told the guys who run the NIL at UNLV, like y'all owe me some money, back pay, like retro, like you guys owe me a lot of money, from back when I played, because NIL didn't exist, But I told them I'd settle out of court for $500,000 right now,
We
and I
have
didn't
the
get that
answer.
$500,000.
Oh, wait, look at somebody got it, Randy.
Tim has got the answer. Moody Blues, it is.
Woo! Good job.
Moody
Good
Blues.
job.
Now,
Yep,
Tim,
and
you have to show us your internet history. We have to see if you agree with it. It's a twofer. You get the
You
tickets,
know what's
but you got
crazy
to
is
reveal your
Tom.
internet history.
Tom might have a pair of jeans, or he might have a pair of True Religion, or
Right.
something, because to us, Moody Blues was denim, so he might have a pair of jeans. You never know. He might have bought some jeans or something from me back in the day,
That's right. So this is Tim, right, you guys? Because you guys know my eyes. I can't see. I can't see the last
Tim
name.
Schneider.
Tim
Yep.
Schneider, you are the winner of Randy Gatewood's question. You get 2 free season tickets to the IAL team of your choice. So make sure that you message me or message the IAL DM, either the Facebook or the Instagram, so that we can get
And make sure you get 2 free tickets to an international game. So
Yes.
you get all of that
Dusseldorf.
travel and everything.
Tim, if you had answered it about 1 second quicker, you would have gotten Corinne's flight to Europe as well, but you just missed it. She was very close.
You never know. What do I always say? Sky's the limit in the IAL. That's what I say. So listen, hey, Randy, we appreciate you so much. And I mean, it's just been so awesome to finally see you and be able to communicate with you. So thank you so much for everything. And hopefully we can have you back in the future as if things are unfolding.
Yeah, you guys let me know. Would love to come back. All the best in the league. Anything I can do to help, anything I can help to, promote or help
Love
in any way, I would absolutely be on for it. I was fortunate enough to have a great run in the Arena Football League, and I'm thrilled to see that you guys are bringing this league back. Even more thrilled that it's on an international level,
Right.
where teams and guys get to travel international and that type of thing too. So congrats to you guys. Keep doing what you're doing, and I look forward to connecting with you guys again soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Randy. Talk to
Thank
you
you,
soon.
Randy.
All righty. Have a good one.
Thank you. Okay,